Hey guys, so this is kind of like a introductory video for my channel and stuff. And the first thing that I wanted to do is introduce myself. First off, hey, my name is Ellis. I am an engineer, a producer, as well as a songwriter, and I'm based out of Dallas, Texas, or more specifically Louisville. And I've probably been doing this or working on music, um, especially in Pro Tools, for about 4 years. Yeah, about 4 years now. Yeah, so I'm not like the people that have been doing this for decades or anything like that. I'm still learning a lot. But I am doing my best, and I am making sure that I'm learning whenever I am working on this stuff. So yeah, hey, nice to meet all of you. I hope that this will be the start of something pretty cool. Okay, all right. So get that out the way. So what I'm about to do is interesting. That's weird. What I'm about to do is start up Pro Tools because today's going to be a tutorial about actually just the saving, the opening of projects, the saving of projects, and as well as just the bouncing of the final product in those files, just so that you know how to do it. And I'll go through some of the different options that you have on how to save and or organize those things and the windows that come up. So open up Pro Tools. It always asks me for administrator access just because Pro Tools runs a little bit smoother when, well, really, it just runs smoother when you've been working on it for a while and you know what works best for it and what doesn't work for it. So that's really all that is. That's what works best for me. So it's loading up right now. Just taking a second. Controllers. And so the first thing that pops up for me is this window that says dashboard up here at the top. And this is basically what you see when you're about to start trying to create a project. And the different tabs you can see on here is create, which is obviously for creating a project. You have recent, which is things that you worked on most recently that are saved. That are saved. And then these are projects, which is specifically stuff that are, as you can see, are part of the cloud. And the way that you would access this is actually by signing in through your Avid account. I haven't been doing that. For the sake of this, I will show you though, so that you know. Okay, so now I'm signed in, and this project list is actually from a long time ago when I first got Pro Tools or whatever. It was actually when I had Pro Tools first. These are probably like the first 3 projects or something like that. Anyways, a long time ago. So yeah, so when it comes to projects, I'll show that in a second for how that works. So first we're gonna start with the create tab. And up here you have the name. You can name it whatever you have. I'm gonna do example. You can name it whatever you want, or whatever the project is, or whatever's just gonna work for you, because later on you'll be able to save it in a different way as well. You can like change this later, and we'll get to that. So the next thing is these 2 options up here. You have local storage and you have collaboration and cloud backup. So with me, I always pick the local storage for the session because that's where I save everything, and that's what's the most convenient option for me right now. Local storage is it literally saving it onto your hard drive, whatever hard drive you have assigned. So either that's a hard drive that's built into your computer, your laptop, PC, Mac, or if that's an external hard drive that you also bring into the session. And the collaboration and cloud backup project, that's something that's specifically for, like you saw a second ago, the projects tab, and something you have to be signed in for, because then you're using the memory, the the memory data that you have to use from the um, Avid website, Avid servers, stuff like that. And I believe you get like a 1 gigabyte. You get like 1 gigabyte that you can save, something like that. Maybe more, maybe more. It would make sense to be more, but I mean, you know, and to get more, you, of course, you have to pay a premium to get more storage. So and that's very useful for collaboration, as you can see. So that other people can access what you've done on that cloud without having to do too much, like opening, closing, sending back. No, it's already right there, and y'all can just be editing it together, like y'all almost like y'all are in the same room. So click local storage, and the next thing that I'm gonna explain is the create from template thing. So right now there's a check mark on it because that's what I usually do. If you didn't want to use a template, then basically it's gonna start up just a blank project. You won't have anything come up. Not necessarily anything. Yeah, not necessarily anything, but not very much will come up. So I'm not gonna go into that. I'm gonna go with create from template because that's the one that I definitely recommend in certain scenarios, like when you need to have something that's up, you need stuff that's already routed the way it needs to be. When you're when you are trying to learn Pro Tools and stuff, or if you're just playing around or anything like that, being experimenting, then I feel like that's definitely a good thing to do, is to just press that. Hold on. Okay, sorry. Um, and so basically, I usually start with create from template, and the template groups that you see right here, which is a category selector you can use. There's these different categories or template groups that you can choose from, and it goes from guitar, miscellaneous, Mr. Green, which is mine. I'll get to that in a second. There's music, post production, Pro Tools first, record and mix, songwriter, venue, live sound, and example. Excuse me. So what you can do in this is choose what's gonna work for you. And let's say you're trying to just record and mix this new artist, and you don't have a template of your own quite yet. Then you would just go to the record and mix group, and decide which one you want to do. And these basically tell you what you're going to be getting. You're either going to get 24 tracks or 32 tracks, and the other options are whether you want the EQ, or that's dealing with all of the different frequencies, and you'll get a plugin that's going to deal with like manipulating that, or dynamics, which that can be a compressor, That could be a maximizer, limiter. That can be a multi-band compressors and all those type of things. Then you have the FX returns, which can get into reverb, delay, echo, anything like that. Those would be already routed for you to just kind of plug and play at that point. And some plugins will actually pop up as soon as you press this. And then you have the rest that can either not have some of those things, not have one, have the other, or have more tracks in general. And it just kind of lets you get to the point a little bit quicker. So we'll be starting with that. And then we have the down here we have file type. We have file type, sample rate, bit depth, and in and out settings. File type, sample rate, bit depth, and in and out settings. So you can go and you can see that it says BWF. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but WAV or wave and the AIFF file. And either one is fine. You can do either one. I recommend wave because that's what a lot of things go off of. And I'm pretty sure when you're bouncing things, especially when clips are put in or if any of them are converted, which we'll get to in a different video, when any of them are converted, you will need to, not need to, but it would be useful for them to already be wave files, especially dealing with Windows. AIFF is more of a Mac thing, I believe. So that can be really useful if you're using a Mac. But this is on Windows, actually. This is on Windows 10. So, yeah, I use Wave, and then there's a sample rate. It just depends what your project needs. You can start at 44.1, which is what I do for a lot of my things. If you're dealing with a more professional situation, or you want to make sure you really impress someone, dot all your T's and I's. Yeah, but excuse me. 192 will definitely work for you. That way, when things are compressed or turned into an MP3 after being a wave, anything like that, it'll stay. It'll stay as clear as it was at the 192. Will not stay as clear, but more so it'll be versatile. It'll be versatile. You'll have this really high quality one and one that takes up a lot of space, but then you can also bring it down to the MP3 and it still be just fine. So I'm gonna keep it at 44.1, and kind of the same thing here with bit depth. Kind of that same thing. Like you have it at the highest bit, and that just helps for when it's compressed for it to keep a level of quality as well as have the versatility of sending them anywhere from the highest bit depth to the lowest and not have to worry about quality or truncation as they call it too much. Then there's the I/O settings. The in and out settings, that's also a part of the kind of like a template, almost like a template in and of itself. These are different mixing consoles. Most of them are. ZBook, that has something to do with my computer very specifically. But the rest of these are Avid and Pro Tools mixing consoles. I think these two aren't. These might be a different mixing console, but yeah, and it helps you have the in and out settings that you need specifically to work with them and very quickly. You don't have to worry about not having what you need or the ins and outs not going where they need to and stuff not playing. This will help you out. And if you have a Control 4 mix console, probably click Control 24 mix console so that you're not going and reinventing the wheel on something that's just in and out that you have an option to just deal with already. Okay, so the next thing is whether we want it interleaved or not. I believe if it's interleaved, then it's just gonna come as like a stereo track. And for any of y'all that don't know what a stereo track is, a stereo track is just the left side and the right side of the music or the waves that are coming out. And for just a quick example, the right side is what's coming out of your right speakers. The left side, that's what's coming out of your left speakers. And they do it almost separately, if you will. And so that file that's interleaved, it's a stereo mix file. And that's just those two, the right side, left side together on one file. And when you don't press interleaved, that's basically they're two separate files now. That's the only difference. You just got to keep up with them if you don't want to do interleaved. I usually do interleaved though. And the last thing, no, it's two more things. There's prompt from load. This is for where your project will be saved, like immediately. As soon as it opens, it'll save it to one of these locations. You can press prompt location, which is helpful if you know that you're going to save things in different places every single time. Excuse me, I'm sorry. If you know that you're going to save things in different places every single time, and if you think that you aren't going to save them in different places, or that you don't need to save it specifically to your artist's hard drive or thumb drive, anything like that, then it's good to use location, because you can pick exactly where you want it to be in most cases. So I have mine in Avid Projects, which I believe I made that myself. Maybe Avid, maybe it pops up when you download Pro Tools. This comes up, but I'm pretty sure that I made it. We'll see later. But yeah, so you go to Avid Projects, and every time you make one within this Avid Projects folder, it creates a folder for whatever project you're working on using. And when you know what folder you want to put it in, or if you want to put it in one of your older folders projects, you can click on that. And what you do is you're not pressing open to do it. That's not going to do anything when you press open. What you do press is use current folder. And when you use current folder, when you use current folder, then that'll actually create a brand new project folder for you to reference, go to, open back up later, copy, whatever you need to do. So I press use folder, and it didn't create it just yet because it only created once I actually press create. Another thing on here is open from disk, and what that means is you're opening from something that may not be recognized by your Pro Tools program already. Maybe something that you worked on with a different hard drive, or it's on a thumb drive, and you're just trying to figure out how to you're just trying to figure out how to open it on your computer. That's what you do. You go to open it from disk drive, and you just go find the file wherever it is, if it's on this PC, and one of the things that's connected, Windows, you just go find it and you open it, and it'll open that file right up for you. I'm gonna go back to where I was at, which is create new. Okay, so re-put example. Got all these things, still the same setting, except this one, interleaved. And the last thing is this thing that says show on startup. I recommend doing show on startup. It just helps me know that the Pro Tools has fully started, that it's finished loading and everything like that, so I know what's going on. And it just helps because most of the time, if I'm opening Pro Tools, I'm about to start working on a new project. That's just for me right now. Sometimes I am going to an old project, which in that case it helps too, because then I can just go to recent, and most likely if I just worked on it once or twice, 2 times ago or 1 time ago, then it's probably pretty close to the top, and I can find it and start working immediately. So that's really handy. Click one of these, it'll open right up. And then yeah, so we're gonna do this example 3 examples. Yeah, let's just do examples. Okay, so I'm gonna press create. So it's creating the template. It's telling me that these aren't set up the way that they would be. It's okay. It's probably based on like one of the mixing consoles. So even though it's saying that these don't have the right outputs, um, and it says that it's fixing it too. It's saying these are missing, these bus outputs are missing, and to make sure that it still works on your computer, they've been remapped to where my actual output is, or what will actually play through my speakers. So that's what it's doing for me. And I'm gonna just press no. I don't need to do a report for that because there's nothing wrong. I'm expecting that. So the first thing that comes up is the actual mix window, which is interesting. A lot of DAWs don't actually do that, even in some of the templates, but this one does. For this template, not all the templates do that. As you can see, there are some. I'm sorry. There are some tracks already up. There are some plugins already up here for you to use, as well as some sends for you to go to. And yeah, I'm not gonna be focusing on that today. What we will be focusing on is how to, like I said, save, open, all those type of things. So let's say that now we want to, now let's say we have some audio. I might just open something up, get some audio in there. Just take me 1 second. Use file. We'll talk about how I imported stuff later. So I added it to a new track. So now we have this. We have our audio in here, and let's just say that's the entire song. It's just that one clap. So once you have the entire song done, or maybe you're just in the middle of editing but you're done for right now, what you'll do is, this thing is already saved. You really only have to press Control S and it's saved. Even though it didn't say anything, nothing popped up saying that you saved it, it is already saved. And you can go up here as well if you don't want to press Control S on Windows, probably Command S on Mac. You can go up here, press save, it's saved. Whatever you just did, you can exit out right now and it'll still be there. The other thing that you have an option to do is save as, and one of the uses of save as, of course, would help you to save it as a different name, just specifically, or to save it onto a different drive if that was helpful for you. And when you just press save as, you can put examples 2.0, you know, and it'll save this project file, which this is a session file. Better is a better word for that. It'll save the session file right here, in the same place that examples, the current session file, is at. So yeah, you just press save, and now we can go check, make sure it's there like it's supposed to be. And boom, so we have examples, which is the original session file that we made, and now examples 2.0 is the other session file that can be used. And the next thing we can do is also save as a copy. So you can save this session as a copy somewhere else, and that can be really useful because when you go to save copy, it can ask you, what do you want to be moved over to the next session? Because maybe you don't want everything, or maybe your computer is messing up because there's just way too much on this session. Way too much on this session already. So what you would do is save copy in, and BitDef, I recommend doing it the same so you don't confuse yourself, so you're not confused on why audio might sound weird for any reason. Do it the same as the last session was, unless there's a specific point. And if you're playing around, of course, try it out, see what happens. Um, so yeah, the audio file same as last. Sample rate 44.1 kilohertz, same as last one. Limit character set. Um, yeah, that's probably fine. Just keep it how it is. Interleaved, click interleave just to make sure it's the same as before. And then it asks you specifically. Oh, I never seen this. One second. When we actually at format, interesting. I wonder what that means exactly. Maybe the entire project instead of just a session. I'm curious about that. Anyways, I'm not sure what project means, but I know session just means the current type of Pro Tools that you're on. This session means that it's Pro Tools 7 through 9, so that's like some older versions of Pro Tools. You could save it to that format, which I didn't know was a possibility, but that's really cool. And then you have session Pro Tools 5.1 through 6.9, which is an even older version of Pro Tools that you could be using as well. And all of that can be useful. Sometimes you'll um, go to a studio, they may have an older version of something, but you still want to be able to work on it. Maybe because the way their setup is, it's more streamlined. You don't want to have to rework your entire computer around it. You can just save that session to that. Or if you're sharing it with somebody that they just have an older session, you can share it that way as well. So that's pretty cool. I usually just have session latest version or whatever. And so you can choose which items you want to copy to the next session. And audio files, I would definitely recommend that, because if you've been working on a lot of stuff, if you don't click this, the audio files, all the audio files that you've been using, working on, will not be there. And yeah, that'll be hard to figure out what to do with when you open it up, or whoever opens it up and there's no audio files. They're gonna be like, what is this? So definitely click audio files. Convert to specified format. I would recommend converting to specified format and rendered elastic audio files, honestly, because you want it to be in the same format. If it's not, there's a chance it won't play. If it's AIFF or WAV and MP3, maybe MP4, you should probably be fine. But there are a lot of other formats, and you don't want it to like not be in the right format, or something they do mess each other up. So you just want to have everything as clean as you can, as concise and organized together. So yeah, saying the same word 10 times, it's cool. So main playlist only is an option. I would recommend that if you are very sure of what you're already going to be sending to them. And I'll get more into what playlists are later, but basically there are multiple playlists on every track. Like every single track has multiple playlists that you can open up and save different audio files to. I would definitely do main playlist only if you know for sure that the main the main audio files that you see on every track are exactly the ones you want to send. Then do that. But for those people that are using multiple playlists for whatever reason, don't click this if you're not sure that that's all you want to use, or that that's all they are gonna need. Selected tracks only. Click this if you know that you only want to share specific tracks, but not all of it. Maybe you have like some sauce on some other tracks that you don't want to just share and have them copying for whatever reason. That's fair. That's fine. Just make sure you click those tracks before you open this save copy in folder, so that it make sure you select it before you open this window, so that it will actually send it. Because if you click this and you don't have any track selected, it won't send anything, or it won't send any track. It was in the project with the name, but it won't have anything in it. So definitely click that, have all those clicked. And these on the side, it just depends on what you're working on. Session plugin settings folder, I would click that, because sometimes there's settings that you might have saved specifically for yourself that you might have created, and maybe they don't have those. And if they're gonna remix the whole thing anyway, that might be fine. But if they aren't, and they're only gonna click on like a specific thing, you don't want them to send the file back or anything like that, and one of your plugins is completely different than what it was supposed to be. You don't want that. Root plugin settings folder, probably same thing. Movie files, that's if you're doing a score or anything like that on a movie or short film. Definitely have the movie files lined up, because if the movie files aren't there and you're working on a score, then it'll be just a little bit harder for them to figure out where everything was supposed to be. And that just helps people keep context while they're working on stuff. Folder hierarchy, that's up to you. Session fade settings folder, I would probably do that just in case there are any files that you faded but you didn't like save the fade to the file. I'll talk about that later. And then root fade settings folder, I would probably do that too. So you press OK, and a file finder folder will come up. File finder window will come up, and you choose where you want to save this copy to. And whenever you do it, it'll still be examples 2.0, unlike when you pressed save as. This will already have a copy in front of it, already say copy in front of it, so you won't have to worry about that as much. Press this, save copy is. I'm gonna save it in the same folder, but you can save it in a different folder wherever you need to, even in a network. If you're in like an office or server type situation, you can save it there. I'm gonna save it where I know I used to keep my stuff at. Let's go back to, well, I can just do this really. So I'm gonna save it here, and boom, that's how you do save a copy in to somewhere else, and it's trying to get all those files and save it where it needs to be saved. Hopefully it doesn't take too long, but so maybe not. So actually, I obviously made a mistake. Save copy to audio files, definitely main playlist only for me, convert specific format. Don't do these, because that's what was about to take so long, was it trying to copy all of those to a next folder. It doesn't need all of those, because those, well, maybe the session plugin folders set, no, not even that, unless you know for sure you want to use that, don't do that. Movie files though, yes. Save copy 2.0. Oh wait, go back. One, for whatever reason. All right, now my computer's tripping, so I mean that's fine. Save copy in. Interleave audio files, convert, don't copy. Well, no, you want it to copy the elastic audio files most likely. Select the tracks only, movie files. Copy of examples 2.0. Yeah, save it here, fine. Okay, now it should be saved. Oof. Okay, so now it's saved in there, and the next thing we're going to be looking at is the save as template. And the save as template is different than from some of the other savings, because this is if you know exactly how you want to work in the future. Let's say you found your flow or your groove and how you work on your Pro Tools, or really any DAW. This can be useful, even though on different DAWs that can be done a different way. For Pro Tools though, you go to that file and you go to File tab, and then you click on Save Session as Template. And I have this option up, Install Template in System, because that just works. That just means it's integrated into Pro Tools already. I don't have to worry about it too much. And you can use a category that's already there, or you can create a category. I'll create a category, example 2.0, and it's as simple as that. You have example 2.0, and you can go from there. What is the name of the template? Examples 101. Anything like that. That can be the name of it. It's going to go in example 2.0, and you'll be able to find it from there. Whenever that screen that came up when we first started up Pro Tools. Yeah. So, and you can also include media. Like, let's say you always want this specific clap to be in whatever beat or whatever recording you're about to make, or maybe you have like a sound that you put in all of your songs. This is like your tag, and you can add that to the template as well to just make things a little bit smoother for yourself, especially in situations where you just gotta turn it on and go, so that can be useful. So the other thing you can do instead of install template in system is select a location for template. Maybe you're on somebody else's computer or even on your own, and you just want it to be saved somewhere else as well instead of just the Pro Tools template folder. You can do that pretty easily. Just when you press OK to this, it'll ask where you want to put it. So yeah, so that's how you make the templates and stuff. That's how you save the templates. And the last thing we're going to be talking about is the bounce too. So like now you have this, you know what you want. That's the final project. You've done all your editing. Now you just want to get it to be a single file, like a WAV or MP3, anything like that, and send it off or save it and just enjoy it for yourself. What you do is you go to bounce to, and you go to disk, open disk, and the bounce window opens up, and the next thing that they show is bounce source, and the bounce source probably should be from wherever your speakers are routed to. Yeah. Whatever bus or whatever that's routed to your speakers, the last thing that's coming out of your speakers, that's coming out of your DAW is what should probably be bounced. And there are situations where that might not be the case. Maybe what goes to your speakers isn't the last thing that happens to your music, and that can definitely be the case in different mixing consoles, or if you have different instruments hooked up, if you have any type of not extra, but other situations that may not be the case. But with a lot of cases, especially if you're just working out of a studio mainly for recording or making beats, that's probably the one you should stick with. Just the physical output 1 and 2, those are my outputs. So yeah, file type here, format, bit depth, and sample rate, all again just like when you first started the project. And it immediately went to wave, which is good. I believe that's because of the setting that we select in the beginning of the creating the project. But you can also bounce multiple times. So you could bounce a wave, then you could bounce an AIFF, then you could bounce an MP3, and whatever this is if you have the right parameters for it. And I usually click wave because that's just easy. I know Windows can still play it even though it's has more data in that file. And to help me out, I also do add MP3, and the MP3 won't be added directly to the session the same way that the wave will be added to the session. The MP3 will be added to the file though, and I'll show you where the bounce files folder is after I bounce this. And then you have interleaved, the format thing again. So you have interleaved, which is a stereo mix. Then you have multiple mono, which like I said, that's the separate left and right tracks in 2 separate files instead of in one file together. And then you have mono sum, that's kind of like a fusion of the two. And those all can have their separate uses. It's really up to you. I'm usually going to click interleaved though. And then you have the bit depth. I'm gonna keep it the same for this 40.1 kilo. kilohertz. I'm gonna keep it the same too. And then you have enforced media composer compatibility. So that's if you're definitely working on a score, or if you're working on editing. If you're working on editing any clips themselves through Media Composer, which is Avid's video editing software, then you'll definitely want to click that, because you want to make sure that you can work between the two. Maybe you took a break so you could work on the music that's going to your short film or their short film. Then you want to make sure that this can still be brought back into that other session seamlessly. And then you also have import after bounce. I always click that because as I'll show you in a second, that allows you to listen to what you've bounced after the fact and not be so worried about whether or not it sounds good or not. There's a way to bounce this and listen to it while it's bouncing. I'm not going to get into that today, but there is a way to do that. So once you do that, import after bounce, you're going to put the file name that you want to use. Put examples. I don't have to put the same name as the session file or anything like that. It's not too crazy. Directory, which is where it's going to save it to, the location. And what it usually will save it to is the Avid projects, or whatever folder you have all of your Pro Tools projects saved to. Examples, that's the project folder itself that was created when you first created the session. And then you also have bounced files, which is specifically for bounced files. So you'll save it and it'll go right in here, and it'll always usually assume that it's going right here unless you choose to bring it somewhere else. And you press use folder again, not open, just use folder. Okay, so now it's going where it's supposed to be, offline or not. If you're doing a cloud session, if you do offline, then it'll also be saved to your computer. If you don't do offline, then it probably won't be. That's probably the main difference. So now we're going to press bounce, and you have a few options up here. You have encoder with encoding speed and constant bit rate, and then you have the tag info. And both of those are pretty straightforward when it comes to just general use. If you're not finagling with everything, or if you're not trying to get too technical, just go with the fastest encoding speed. If you're worried about your computer or how something's working, you can definitely go with the slow encoding time, and maybe it won't overwhelm your computer or anything like that. And then same thing with the constant bit rate. Like the fastest, that'll probably help you get stuff done. The slowest probably isn't necessary in most situations, but maybe if you go to like 112 or 192, anything like that, then it'll just make sure less mistakes are made during that encoding process of bouncing it. So then you have the stuff on the tag info, and you have the tag type, which I usually just stick with what it already has. And then you have the title. I'm gonna leave it as examples. The artist, shade, salad. It's funny, or Sahad, shade, and prod by Eyes Mr. Green. Eyes are green. Eyes Mr. Green. And album, you never know, it could be an album, maybe it's not, so you can leave that blank or put something there. Then you have comments. Maybe it's like dedicating it to somebody, or you want people to remember a specific way, or you just need to remember it later. You can add the comments. And then also the genre, let's just say it's rhythmic soul clapping. You can click, there's a lot of genres that it has on here that you can choose. Very useful, very helpful. And I'll tell you why in a second. And then the track, just if there's like the first track, then you just put 1, or if there's like not any tracks, just keep it as 1, it's fine. And then if there's like not an album, you can just keep it as 1. If you want to keep track of the year, just keep this there. It'll keep track based on what your system says the year is. And so you don't have to worry about editing that yourself most cases. And the use for the tag, doing all that stuff, It's just that certain systems pick up that tag information. It will immediately broadcast that to whoever's listening. So, like when you're playing something on your phone and it says this was made by this person at this time, it's a part of this album, and it's this track number, that is this information that's being broadcasted. Sometimes it's broadcasted specifically from here, and other times it can be broadcasted, oh, it's specifically for the MP3. Interesting. But then sometimes it's broadcasted when you actually import this song into whatever streaming platforms you have, or distributing distributing companies. They'll have you put this information in as well, and they'll broadcast that in a similar fashion. So yeah, press bounce. Now it's going to show that it's bouncing. Already done. And you can press new track, or you can press clip list for where it's going to be imported to within your session. If you press new track, it'll also be on clip list. If you put clip list, it will not be on a new track. That's the difference. You can select where it's going to be put at. You can put it in a spot. I'm not sure what that is, but selection, that just depends on where you're, basically this thing, like this thing that's darkened, is darkened this clip file. It'll it'll put it right there. For lack of better words, it'll just put it right there, or you can put it at session start, which is just at the beginning. So yeah, so press that, optimizing. So now we have the bounced version, and I bring it all the way down to the bottom, so it's below the master, so that I just keep track of, I'm not working on that anymore. Like, that's not a part of the mix. So after I listen to it, see it is doing what it's supposed to do, then I press mute. Sorry, that's solo. I press mute and I hide and make it inactive. Boom. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't have to worry about if I edit more, make some more bounces that's going to keep playing or getting away. Nothing like that. It'll stay like that. You can delete it as well. I usually hide it because maybe I might come back to it while in session, just listen to what I had before, anything like that. So yeah, so all of that, going through the files and figuring out where you want to save things, how to export it, how to open it from the beginning. Well, no, how to create a new project from the beginning. Those are all the things we went through in this video. That is going to bring us to the end, and I really appreciate any of you guys taking the time to listen. I'm really happy to share this information. I'm also going to be sharing some other information on songwriting soon, so please stay tuned. Let me know what you think in the comments. Anything that you think I should be looking at, responding to, something you just don't know or you haven't seen anybody else answer the question, let me know and I'll try to get to it. Okay, so all right, y'all have a good one, and I will see you guys later. All right.